Yeah, so, yeah, welcome to the Stadium of Light for the first game of the new season, technically. I don't know if you want to call pre-season for any of the first game of the new season, but let's pretend it is for, you know, the purpose of the ceremony. So we might as well get started with the main issue of the day, Stewart. Obviously the comments this morning in the Echo, I don't know if you've read the exclusive in the Echo, Mark Campbell kind of responding to the fact he was linked with taking Sunderland over in the summer. Do you want to respond to them? Have you got anything to say on that? Have you read it?
I saw last night there were some things on. I haven't seen what was said today, so I don't know what was said.
I would say the main thing that probably I would have picked out of it was he seemed to be suggesting that you wanted to sell full control and he had to convince you to stay in the event he bought the club.
Right. Well, that's not true. The reality of the situation is Mark Campbell's probably the most high-profile person that's been connected with the club. But we've had 4 or 5, I think, decent approaches, and we've kept our own counsel as to, if you like, the people involved in those and what we're looking for and what we're trying to do. But with all of them, I've expressed a wish to stay here for minimum of 5 years, but hopefully 10. And I expressed that wish to Mark Campbell. Now, some people don't want that. Some people do. We can see, but the biggest single thing about getting investment for the football club, or if somebody really wants to take it on, is it the right thing for the football club? Now, I've been pretty open to say that to get us to the Premier League, we may need some investment. Therefore, I need somebody who's probably got more money than I have to invest. Mark Campbell's not that guy. You know, we had conversations for quite some time, but I don't think Mark Campbell will probably ever be involved in Sunderland Football Club, because, you know, we need to keep the football club on, and to do that, you know, I can keep us at this level, and I've got ideas of how we can do things, but, you know, the idea is to get some investment that can move us forward, and unless we can see that someone's got investment, then we can't entertain the conversation. So it didn't really get very far, because I didn't feel that when push came to shove, we'd actually be financially any better off than we are today.
Thanks for clarifying all of that for us. I think most people in the room will have seen that article, so we had to address it basically.
Yeah, and I think that the reality of it is, on the investment front, we have got 1 or 2 people that we're very, very close to, that I think could be absolutely wonderfully exciting options, and I think the reality of it is within the next couple of months we probably will do something. But if we do that, that's about us being able to be confident that the people can kick us on in the right manner, without leveraging the club for loads of debt, without putting the stadium in hock, without doing anything to jeopardise the future of the football club, that they will come in and genuinely invest, so that if we get into the Championship, we can compete at the top end of the Championship. That's what this is all about. So we're doing it early. We've organised the football club so we're debt-free, so that we're ready for investment, so that we're not losing a lot of money. And we're attracting some very, very interesting people who have said, yes, we'd like to be involved. But if you want to be involved, you've got to explain to us what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, the reasons that you're doing it, all the people that are involved in it, and what your long-term plan is. Unless anybody can sell us that vision, then we'll carry on as we are, because we don't need somebody at the moment to come in and put £50 million into Sunderland. You know, I think this month it needs, in August, probably £3 or £4 million. So, you know, I can do that. That's fine. That's no issue. And we can kick ourselves on for the next couple of years. But for the next 5 or 10 years, to really go for it, we have got to get the right type of individual for the right reason. And we're having lots of approaches. There are some people that are very close, I think, for me mentally, to say they are absolutely what Sunderland needs. And I'm saying to them, can I stay involved? Will you let me spend your money? Do you like what we're doing? And they're the conversations that we're having. And I think we're in a fantastic shape. But what we won't do in the short term is, you know, there's lots of chats about Mark Campbell or whoever. I never said that he was close to buying the club. I didn't say that he was buying 100%. I didn't say he was buying 60%. All of his supposed deal has come out in the paper. I haven't commented on it. What I can tell you is, would we have any more money to spend in the Championship under that proposed deal? I would have said no. So it didn't go anywhere. And it hasn't gone anywhere. Long time before he's announced his interest in Falkirk. You know, I knew weeks ago that it wasn't going anywhere, but I haven't made comment on it because I didn't make comment on it in the first place. I have said before, I'll look after the football club and I'll find the right investor. That's what I'm doing. So there'll be loads of people that want to invest, some people who may have money, some people who may be borrowing money, this and that. We don't want, you know, what you want me to do is you want me to filter all those people and get the right person. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, thanks. I think Gareth's got a follow on from that.
So I mean, obviously it's always been the discussion, like publicly in between supporters, investment. Is it going to be investment or a takeover? At this stage, I mean, if the right person came in, this stage, I know you're saying you want to be involved, but if the right person came in and it didn't even mean that you were involved yourself, would you entertain that?
Yes, I'd be gutted. But yes, if it's the right thing for Sunderland Football Club. So that is a possibility. My preference is to find, in that sense, somebody like Ellis, or a little bit richer, that turns around and says, we really want to push Sunderland, we believe in what you're doing, we'll give you some money, we like the way you spend it, we know no one's going to take the piss out of us with stupid transfer fees, or you're not going to waste my money here and there, we like how you do it, we don't want to do it, can you do it for us, and can you continue to, you know, continue on the journey that we've begun and make sure that everyone feels involved. That's what we want. Are there people out there like that? Yes. Would I like to retain a bigger shareholding as possible? Absolutely. I would like to retain 51%. But you have to be realistic. If somebody might put in a decent sum of money, they might want it to be their train set. All the people I've talked to have said they'd like me to stay and would like me to run it, so that's quite good for me because I enjoy it. But it's just got to be right for Sunderland. We don't have to do it now, but we don't want to have to do it in 2 years' time and then we go, right, let's have a look. When it's a panic and when I'm thinking, God, I've put all the money in I can. At the moment, I've got cash I can put in. We can pay down, you know, this money I'm supposed to have taken, so that, you know, it's all getting paid down. I can pay that down as we need it. That's what we'll do. We'll do it all under control, and then we find somebody in this period that really can do what I can't do, and give us the comfort that we got 50, 60 million pound in the bank, whatever it needs to be, so we can have a real go at the Premier League. And that's what I'm doing, and I'm doing it early, and I've just said I'm doing it. Now, I'll find the right person. I'm confident of that because we've had 15, 20 people. I've had people offer me a fortune for the football club, and I haven't taken it. All these people that say I'm in for a quick buck. My ideal scenario, if I'm honest, with regards to my own financial position, is I let Eastleigh go to come here. I'd invested almost, well, I say it's 12 million, but it was probably about 15 because I probably don't want the family to know exactly how much I spent on it. But it was about 15 million pounds. And if ultimately I can do really well here and get about 15 million pounds back, then I've got a neutral football deal. Because I'm 15 million pound down before I walk in the door, that people just don't think, because I sold the club like that for £1. So I'm down. So if I ended up about that and I've done a good job for Sunderland, I think that's fair enough. I've had offers where I can make 40, 50 million pounds flipping this club. Because I've run it quite well, and it hasn't cost me as much as what I thought it would, but I don't want to sell it. So I've turned all those people down in the preference of finding the right deal for the club. So let's see, when I do the deal, you can then judge whether or not actually what I'm saying is true. But when you see the types of people we're talking to and the type of deal we'll do, you'll probably see that I've committed to stay for an awful long time, that I've committed some of the money that I've received, if I receive some, and that I've found you somebody good to take the club on to the next level. So judge it then. In the meantime, judge it if I'm skimping on the team, if I'm not investing in it. Well, I've invested as much as anybody in a League One football club. So we're okay. So I don't, you know, Mark Campbell, whoever, it doesn't matter. We're fine. I'll find us the right person when we need it.
I was going to say, that probably leads on to another question related to the number of signings that we've made so far, which is 5, 2 in the last week. And I think the aim was 6 to 8 you wanted this summer. Obviously, players have gone at the same time, Lee Cattermole most notably.
Yeah.
I suppose just wondering, do you still think we need 6 to 8, i.e. another 3 maybe, and also sort of whether the investment would have made that more or less kind of a pressing issue?
The investment makes no difference. We've got plenty of money to invest in the team. The thing with it is we don't want to waste money. We could have signed George Dobson 3 weeks ago for double what we paid for him. So, you know, let's spend our money wisely at the right time. We can buy the players that we need to buy if we think it's correct. That's the issue. If I put £50 million in the football club tomorrow, all I'm going to do is do what's happened before. We don't need to do that. We need a sustainable, sensible model that attracts the right type of people because they say this is a well-run football club. And some of the people we're talking to, they've looked at half a dozen football clubs, and I'm sure if we do something, the first thing they'll say is what they've said to me, that we are probably the best run football club of any of the football clubs that are searching for investment by an absolute mile. No debt, no issues, no hangovers, fantastic facilities, superb fan base, massive potential, great history, and we don't cost loads of money to run. What a wonderful position that we're in from where we were. Now on the pitch, we haven't quite delivered what we wanted to deliver last year, but ultimately we'll get there. So we're in a cracking position. So what I've got to do is maximise the position we put ourselves in so that we get the best result. And if we need 3 or 4 more players, that is Jack. It's down to Jack. You know, I've trusted Jack. I've backed my man. I've said he's the man. If he wants 2 or 3 more players, he'll have 2 or 3 more players. We're trying to balance it that, you know, if we get a couple in, we get a couple out, and this, that and the other. But sometimes you have to turn around and say, like we have at the moment, well, we want a couple more and, you know, we'll have a slightly bigger squad. But, you know, one of the things that's going to happen is the championship window for transfers is going to shut. And then these players that are banking on championships clubs might not have them. So what's going to happen to those players? Where are they going to want to go when they can't get in the championship? Probably here. So, yeah, so there might be 1 or 2 players that come on the sheet and you think, wouldn't mind him, and we'll be in a position to do it, whether we let anyone go or not. We are, I've said it before, we are in cracking financial shape.
Well, on the pitch side of stuff, and bring Paulie in here, because obviously you'll be itching to get involved, Paulie. Not really, no. Fair enough. So, mentally recovering from last season. You know, we had 2 finals, you know, missing out on automatic promotion. Obviously, the manager said that, you know, if we don't go, it'll be a failure. In his eyes, for himself, from a personal perspective. From a chairman's perspective, you're in Wembley, you know, Charlton scored in the last minute of the game, you're sitting there. You know, how do you recover from that coming into this season? And obviously for Paulie as well, you're in the same position losing on penalties to Charlton 20 odd years ago. You know, how, I'm not going to say what you just said. You know, how did you mentally recover from that? But Stewart go first and you will come in on the right.
I felt sorry for myself for 2 or 3 days. Beat myself up, thought I deserve to be more successful, and the Sunderland fans do, than you know, when you see how the owner behaves at their club, you think, well, you know, that's a bit unfair, and then you think to yourself, well, it's not unfair, is it? It's just the way that it is. Dust yourself down. I watched them celebrate for the entire period. I saw a couple of fans, that lady there, I watched her cry for the entire celebration, which was heartbreaking. And I thought to myself, I'll watch it, so it makes me feel awful, so it makes me more determined not to experience it again. But I am chairman of Sunderland Football Club in the worst ever league finish this club's ever had. So I'm not proud. I'm not impressed. I'm gutted and embarrassed. But what can I do? 3 or 4 days later, you turn around and go, well, I could feel sorry for myself all summer, or I can roll my sleeves up and, you know, get my arse in gear and try and improve things. So that's what we're trying to do.
I've got a confession to make then. I was captain of Sunderland Football Club and I turned to drink straight after the game. It was great. Got pissed as a fart and then just moved on, to be honest with you. I think, like the chairman says, I think it's how you actually say to yourself what you're going to learn from what's happened and what you're going to do when you move on. And I think what we done at the time was this collective way of thinking, we'll make sure we get promoted, and we, you know what Niall said at the time, we'll remain unbeaten, which I did pull a face at him when he said it, but it was just all of a sudden something clicked with us all and we just said, right, we'll make sure we win the league next year. What we want from within the squad now, and as the squad evolves over the course of pre-season, you need that mentality back there again. You need people within the squad to say, we need to be stronger, we need to be more resilient, and we need obviously to win more games as well. But I think the biggest thing is there's nothing you can do about the past, but you can do something about the future, and I think that's the position our players are in now, and they've got the biggest chance ever to make sure they win promotion. And for me personally, I think promotion has got to be a defo this year.
Well, I guess that leads into something you said on the Report podcast. At the end of the season, about 100 points. I mean, again, all of you can come in on this. Does that put pressure on Jack Ross? Is that still what you expect? For both of you?
There's massive pressure on everybody within the football club. Look, it's a huge football club. Last year, in some ways, for us is a little bit of a free hit because it was a bit of a mess, and you can point to that and say, you know, this, that, or the other. Everybody expects us to go up, and everybody should expect us to go up. And you know, not going up. I didn't necessarily expect that we'd go up, but I expected us to finish top 6 and get very close. And we did get very close. What do I expect this year? I expect to go up. And all you can do is look at yourself in the mirror and say, have I done the best for the club? Have I given us the best chance for the structure around us to deliver? And when you look at yourself in the mirror and go, yeah, go on then, I've done my bit, then you're expecting everybody else to go and do their bit. And if everyone else does their bit, we'll go up. And should we expect to go up as a fan base? Absolutely, we should expect to go up. Of course, we should. You know, there is on no metric that you can measure us. Should we really not expect to finish in the top 2? And yes, everyone's going to come here and want to win, and you know, the ref might give us some issues, or you know, the fans might get a bit apprehensive if we're 2-0 down with 20 minutes to go. Well, deal with it. We've got to deal with it, haven't we? We've got to make sure that we recruit the right characters. And if we recruited the wrong characters, we'll fail. And if we fail, ultimately that's my fault because it will fall down the line and I'm the person at the top. Do I expect us to go up? Yes. Should we all expect to go up? Absolutely. That's why we're going to sell 24,000 season tickets before the season gets going. Because everybody expects us to have a good year. And they bloody well should.
He's like Mr. Motivator without the leotard, isn't he? I think whenever you're fortunate enough to play for this football club, whenever you go out there across that white line, whenever you have the expectations of the fans on your shoulders, for me, any player that crumbles with that shouldn't be here. And what we need to do this year, when Stuart said there about the character of the player, I think that's vital. I don't care what anybody says, it's a different animal when you go out and play in the stadium alike. And if you haven't got that strength of character, strength of, as a player, for some players it's too much for them. We need to make sure that they do set the bar high this year, but set the bar where it is achievable. And is 100 points achievable? Absolutely. And if we want to go up, that's what they've got to aim for. That, and to make sure we go up.
We're going to open it up to the floor now. I think probably, you know, I think we've probably asked enough questions, and I'm sure you guys have got, you know, plenty to ask yourselves. So Craig there's got a wireless mic.
Between Chris and I, we'll come around. So Craig and Chris are going to be milling around. Just put your hand up if you've got a question, and they'll try and get over to you. And off you go. If anyone got a question, there you go straight away in the middle.
Hi, Simon. So you've hit the nail on the head to me with the resilience of the players, how they need to stand up. It's a difficult place to play. We're the biggest club in this division. Have you recruited the players necessary? All those free transfers? Because I'm sure most people here haven't seen them play. I haven't seen them play apart from Mark Dundee. Are they going to be good enough, the additional players that we need to get up promoted?
Well, we're not going to know that, are we, for a few months? But if you employ your head of recruitment and your manager, then you entrust them to sign the players that they want. Now, if they give you a list of 20 players and you sign the players that are 20th, 19th and 18th on their target list, then I think you sit there for yourself and turn around and go, well, did I get them the real players that they wanted? And the answer to that is probably no. If you give them the people that they want, which is, I believe, what we've done, and said, if you want a couple more, you can have them, just tell us who you want, and we'll go and try and get them, then you would trust them to get you the right players. So I sincerely hope they are the right players, because we, even at this level, whether they're transfer fees or not, and you know, spend a little bit. When you don't have a transfer fee, sometimes the player costs more because he knows he hasn't a transfer fee, so he's not as cheap as you might think he has. And we have signed those players, some of them, ahead of them moving to quite decent championship clubs, because we've really sort of gone for them. So I sincerely hope, you know, I'm a fan like you in that sense. But if you're looking at players and you go, well, do we want to do one? They go, well, Hull's after him and Charlton's after him and so-and-so's after him. You go, we've got him. You think, well, if 4 or 5 championship clubs want him, hopefully he's all right. And that's from a layman's perspective. What they've done is scout him and do all of that. So they're coming at it from their angle. From an owner's angle, you know, they send me scouting reports. I mean, I'm bored senseless after reading them for about 10 seconds. I'm not interested in that. I can tell if a player's tired when I watch him run around. That's how I view my football. So the players that we've signed, our footballing structure is very happy with those players. So if we had a team that finished on ballpark 80 points and we've signed half a dozen players, or we signed 6 to 8 players ultimately that we think improve our team, then I'd expect us to get more than 80 points and have a much stronger squad. And I like the type of players that were signed. You know, Dobson at 21 and played a lot of games and X, Y, and Z. So I'm hoping, you know, there's some potential in him and things like that. So yeah, but do I know? I know about as much as everybody else. I'm gonna have to trust that the people I've put in place know what they're doing.
Just to ask you, do you prefer it if, you know, like the chairman said there about players in this league or this sort of area of the league, a lot of them will let their contracts run out exactly to do what he said, so that ultimately they get better wages when they go to clubs and that. So don't be fooled by the fact if they are a free transfer and we're all thinking, oh, are they any good? Sometimes, as we're very aware, buying a player for an inflated transfer fee can also bite you on the backside as well. It's all about the player, and if that player suits the way you play and the character of your club. Now, whether he costs 500 grand or nothing, or 5 million, if it suits, so be it. I wouldn't worry whatsoever about transfer fees or nothing like that. It's more making sure he's the right player.
Are we done?
Crack on then.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Fella over here on the left-hand side in the check shirt.
Who are you going to ask?
That'd be a good one.
I was just asking, have you, since it's the start of the season next Saturday, is it just out of interest? Do you have any more players that's in the pipeline up to now? It's just a matter of curiosity.
I wouldn't think we're finished with our signings. I would imagine there may be 1 or 2 more. As I've said, you know, the championship window is going to shut soon, and sometimes keeping your powder dry might be sensible, so that when these players who think they're going to get a championship club don't, all of a sudden we become a very, very attractive proposition, and we might just get you know, 1 or 2 players that might just be a little bit better than the standard, because they've gambled themselves on their future, and for one reason or another they haven't quite got there. You know, we've got a long time to sign players after this championship window shuts, so I don't think we've seen our last sign.
Also, the fact that sometimes I think we've got to be careful we don't get an overinflated squad as well, and if we have players that can't leave, don't leave. Then we end up with a massive squad. That in itself can cause issues. I also think this is a massive opportunity for some of our young players. If you talk about a new player coming in, I went to watch Elliot Embleton a lot last year, and I liked what I see. Now, what he's got to do is prove to the manager this year he can be worthy of a place in his starting 11. Now, that in itself then will be another new player. And I think we have got some really good young players who have got to really stake their claim this year. You get that blend right as well, and that hunger. You've got a good balance in the squad as well.
Right, next question.
Hi Stuart.
Hello there.
Just, you said you're actively looking for for investment in the club. I was just wondering what's the state with Juan Sartori? Is he still involved? Is he still looking to move on at some point?
Yeah, I mean now now he was quite successful from where he began, but now he's not going to be the president of Uruguay. He's back and quite vocal. So yeah, but through the process on the investment, if I'm honest, I think we have already met people who, whether through Juan or anybody else, who I think can deliver for us exactly what we're all going to want to have delivered over the next 5 to 10 years. So I think we're now at the stage where we're just talking about how we exactly structure that. So I think over the next few weeks, we'll see a slightly different structure to Sunderland, but one hopefully where we all stay, and we can see some quite exciting developments that probably will involve Quinn.
So I've got the team here if anyone's interested.
Get on then.
We've got John McLaughlin in goal, Conor McLaughlin, Denver Hume, Jordan Willis, Tom Flanagan, Dylan McGeoch, Elliot Embleton, Lyndon Gooch, Benji Kimpioka and Will Grigg. On the bench we've got Burge, Ozturk, O'Nien, Baldwin, Power, McNulty and Dobson. So that could be a back three, I guess, with Hume and Gooch as wing backs, or it could be a back four with McLaughlin one side and Hume the other. So I guess we'll find out in about an hour. Anyway, who had the question, sorry?
Sorry, just a quick one for someone who's still mentally scarred when we came down to this league for the second time in his lifetime. Are we saying that any bids for John McLaughlin in goal will be definitely knocked back after our goalkeeper fiasco, the reason we're in this league in the first place?
Unless somebody offers us about £10 million, which sorry, 10 million. I'm not sure I knocked 10 back. The scenario, basically, obviously John's got a year left. He'd love to extend. He's very happy here, and we spoke to his agent. We've begun that process, and his agent said, there is interest in him, and you can probably get £1 or £2 million for him. And I said, would you get £5 million for him? And he said, no chance. And I said, well, that's his price then. And so, will John McLaughlin be here all season? Yeah, we won't sell John McLaughlin. Won't.
Nice.
Hands up, anyone?
Hi Stuart.
How are we going?
I'm alright, Kevin. Last year we've seen the team play an awful lot of games. Obviously the EFL Cup was massive, with the amount of games we actually went through. What's the priority this year? Are we going to be looking at the EFL again, or are we just going to use that as development for a squad and so on?
If I'm honest, I think we'll want to do as well in it, but I would be surprised. Bear in mind, there's even more pressure on us this year to do well. I wouldn't be surprised if Jack slides, rest 1 or 2 players for it, if I'm honest.
I think that cup has certain criteria. You have to play certain players, but what was it, over 60? How many games did we play last year? 61 or 62 games, a massive amount for the squad as well. I think, me personally, I'd go priority with the league all the time.
Any further questions? Hands up. Gonna come. Just take this one if you want.
Are there any players close to leaving the club at the minute?
Yes.
Can I expand? Sorry? Can I go into more detail?
No.
It's worth reaching over for that. Anybody else got a question? Come on, somebody must have a question. Just pretend you're on Twitter and then...
Ask one about Lee Catmull, I suppose. What's sort of the structure of that with him leaving? How's that been structured in terms of his contract being paid up and what that means in the immediate term?
Nosy bloke, isn't he? Eh?
I can't discuss that. It's there's a confidentiality clause within it. So if I could talk to you about it, I would. You know, and the bottom line is, I think the viewers, having had a chat all round the table, it was just the right time, and we needed to do the right thing by Lee, and Lee wanted to do the right thing by us. So we've just got a mutual agreement, and you know, will it cost us a bit of money? Well, it will cost us what it will cost us, but it's not going to affect us.
I'll ask you a question. Do you think it'd be a massive miss?
Well, I think he's one of my favourite players. But I don't know what you think of him, Kevin, but
I think he will be a miss, but again, like everybody, when they move on, it's something we have to deal with. But I think everybody would show the utmost respect. I think it'd be nice if we brought him back sometime to sort of show that respect to him, because I think as a servant to the club, I think he's been outstanding in that. And I do think we genuinely miss him. We'll miss that presence of Lee Catmull. With that shout, Catmull, we won't hear that anymore, admittedly, but I do think genuinely we should bring him back and do something by him, just to sort of show our respect to him as well.
Okay.
Any more? Yeah. Any other questions? Anyone? Come on. Surely someone's got a question. Oh, they were all over there, Craig. Right, colour of black t-shirt.
Hi Stuart, when you first came to the club, obviously you focused on the removal of debt in terms of the financial stability of the club. There's now been quite a bit of focus on the wages and the turnover of the club. So how much does the wage bill have to go down by for you to be happy with the financial stability of the club?
Doesn't have to go down at all. We budgeted for this season. We're about on line with what we financially expect this season. Next season, you know, we'll tackle it depending on, you know, where we are. We're fine. You know, the challenge for us is, and I'm not sure how much has been made of it, and it's good news for Sunderland. But there's not been an awful lot of activity in the Championship because there's an awful lot of conversation, and rightly so when you look at the condition of Bury and Bolton, about financial fair play and people trying to scoot around it and this, that and the other. And there are more than half the clubs in the league above in a very interesting position whereby they're going to have to bring their wage bills down drastically. So this is good for us, because if we get this right and we maximise the potential of Sunderland and get everybody enthused about it and buying shirts and everything else, our turnover naturally is going to be the biggest in the league along with Leeds. So we've got a huge natural advantage. So everything is shaping up for us to really be able to compete. I'm not worried about our financial situation at all. We've got a wonderfully huge football club. The operational costs are under control. It is a huge football club, cost base wise, to run outside of the team, but there's all of you guys paying for that as well, so that helps us. So we can have a competitive budget in whatever league we're in. So we're in good shape.
Do you think the penalties for sort of people who are sort of flaunting the rules when it comes to financial fair play are immediate and fair enough? Because, you know, there could be teams out there who will hedge the bets, try and like push it at the start, and then if they get up,
I don't think it's right at all. You know, and you've got clubs who are trying to take their grounds out of the ownership so that they can inject some funds in this, that, and the other. I mean, the football clubs are everybody's. You talk to people at Bury and Bolton. Now, Sunderland might be different because there's thousands and thousands more, but there are people at Bury and Bolton that care just as much about their football clubs as people here. And having somebody abuse it and then you lose it just isn't on. And the league have sort of turned around and said, well, you can't even just invest money now with shareholdings, because what happens when you get fed up and you leave? So I think it's perfectly the right thing to do. It's good news for us, and I think it should be. You should live within your means. Now, I'm going to say that as being involved in Sunderland because it gives us a natural advantage. But I think it's wrong. But I think football is changing from that perspective, from the EFL down. They're just not having it anymore. And this is where, You know, there's a lot of talk about exactly how much was paid and the debts that got to be paid back. The football club is in a position whereby, because we've done so well, we can keep feeding this money back in the club. So when we get in the Championship and we're only allowed to spend 60% of our wage or whatever it is, we will probably have 15 to 20 million pounds that I can put back in. You know, if we go down the route and no one else is invested, it doesn't count. So we got a free hit. So we're in an even better position. Not only have we got that, we got something that no other club has got. So
I guess the difficulty on that front though, 10 to 15 million pounds now in the Championship probably buys you one half decent player. But I guess it has to come back the other way now, doesn't it?
It's changing. You have a look now at what the bottom half of the Championship are going to have as a wage bill next year. Teams are slashing 7, 10, 15 million pounds off their budgets because one, I think that they just can't afford it, but two, they're just not allowed. I mean, there are loads of clubs that haven't signed players. You have a look at the Championship and you see how many teams are not really signing players. You know, behind the scenes, there's an awful lot of clubs that are having to have a big rethink, and their wage bills are just going to go whack. And as they go down, and hopefully if we gain momentum, we'll be we could be in the top half budget-wise without spending a penny. Because, you know, some of the bigger teams now, there's loads of teams down the bottom that just haven't got any money.
Anyone else? Question? Gentlemen? Oh, wait a minute. One over here and then we'll come to yourself.
Hiya. In the light of last season's events, Portsmouth and Coventry, fans coming up here, are we any further forward in guaranteeing the safety of our fans in that stand?
We've restricted their allocations on advice, and I'm looking at, I don't know if it's doable, but somebody mentioned it to me and it sounded like a good idea, where we put, and I think they do it in European countries, where we put a netting across. You know, which is a shame for 20 of the 23 teams that don't abuse the privilege of coming, but by the same token, I mean, I saw the Portsmouth one was a one-off incident and it's wrong, but the Coventry one, all the lads were in the front section throwing stuff down, and you saw the Sunderland fans down below, and you know, we pay a lot of money to keep ourselves safe. I know, and it's, you know, we're responsible to keep you safe, but the response there wasn't to the standard that you would expect. And it's one thing to say the response isn't quite right, but the other thing is it shouldn't happen in the first place. So we don't want to stop anybody enjoying coming as an away fan, but I think if we're allowed to put netting around and it doesn't sort of affect the vision, then I would put netting across that tier. I don't think it's that expensive, so that's the thing we're looking at the moment.
Hi Stuart, just a quick one.
Yes.
Why did you delete the Twitter account?
Because I thought to myself, there's a month or two before pre-season, and two things were happening. One, I was getting an awful lot of requests about player signings, so I thought to myself, we're going to be patient here, so I can't, you know, I'm just going on holiday for 10 days, I'm just going to delete it for a month and keep it quiet. And then I also got some personal stuff sent on private message that was, you know, I get everybody's not happy with going up, and I get people might not like, you know, the way the club's run in certain ways, but I had some stuff on there that I don't think, you know, my family was important to me, it is important to me, and you know, I think when you leave your laptop on and your daughter comes in and someone says they're, you know, coming to your house and going to burn your house down and attack your kids and that, you don't need that. So, you know, I just thought I'd take a break for a month because I could feel the pressure heightening, and I think probably every year what I'll do is I'll take a break at the end of the season to pre-season, and I took the view that this is our first pre-season game, so I'll just come back on. Because the thing I miss about it, I'm not really, you know, people can say whatever they want, but what I can do is when fans break down, or when somebody wants a shirt, or like this week I bought some goals for a local team that, you know, they haven't got any goals, so they got like 300 kids and they can't, you know, the girls can't play, so I bought them some goals and that, and I can't do that because their way to reach me is to say, you know, can you help? So I've missed that for a month, and I thought, you know, I like that side of things where I could sort of, you know, try and make a difference for people, and I won't let the negativity sort of affect that, but by the same token, when I can't do anything about it in the summer, I didn't want to subject myself and my family to it, really, so that's why I did it.
Anyone else?
Is there anything new happening with the stadium naming rights?
I don't know who asked me that. No, because if we sell it, it needs to be at a premium rate, and in honesty, at the moment we can't attract a premium rate, so I'm not entertaining it at the moment.
Anyone else?
So it's no lie that the club has had a rocky relationship in terms of management, and I was just wondering if the management was to fall through in any way, is there anyone else you have in mind to take over on the job?
Who set you up for that one?
Is that kick-off? What do I say to that? Look, I've been very vocal that I've backed my manager. I know there's a few grumblings about lots of draws, this and there. I'm as keen as anybody for us to do well, and you know I need to focus on Jack getting it right, and I'm confident that he's going to do that, and that's where the energy goes. If things change, Sunderland Football Club will attract any calibre of candidate here, and we won't have a shortage of people to run through. And like players and everything else, you always know what's going on in the football world, but Jack's our man, we're backing him, and we trust him, and we've just got to all stick together and get behind him, and we need another 15 points. We've got to turn 6 games from draws to wins, and he can do that for us if we're on it.
Is there any more?
Hiya, just wondering about giving something back to the fans. I've seen some clubs where they, with season tickets, say for example, a season ticket is £400, they might give £10 or £20 back to the fan to spend in the club shop. And so if you spend that money, that £10 or £20, the fans are probably going to spend double that anyway. So I just think that's a good idea, to give something back to the fans and also get something for the club also.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. Yeah.
Hi, Stuart.
Hello there.
It's not a secret I like a bet, right? So, two questions really. I think everybody in the room would probably agree, looking back at last season, that probably the best teams went up, right? I think if you look at the teams that's come down this season, Rotherham, Bolton, struggling, the 3 teams that's come up this season, there's no Luton amongst them. I've never had a holiday this year. Sunderland 7-2, 4-1 to win this league. I think that's an absolute steal. 2 questions. Should I book a holiday now? And the second question is Charlie in the colliery?
Yes and yes.
Anybody wants to bet, go and see Tom. I'll give you good odds.
So one more, and then we'll finish up if anyone's got one more.
Well, I'll ask you a lot of questions. Do you feel confident this year? And that's how we have to be. And every year we have to be the same, because sometimes it doesn't always go how we want. But I love the optimism at the start of every season when we always think we can. And this year we've got to be no different. And I think this year we can. But the difference is, I also think we will. Alright, so let's hope we're back here at the end of the season with promotion. Have a great evening, everybody, alright?
Cheers, mate.